Stepping into the unknown can be a frightening and challenging adventure. Even more than that, stepping into the deeper things of God can be the most exciting and rewarding experience. No doubt many of us here at the Garden can relate to the awesomeness of God as He has walked with us from our humble start on Harley Bridge Road to the humbling sanctuary of Evergreen at Bloomfield Garden. When we consider the miraculous way in which God has caused our move to occur, we can't help but be in stunned admiration of how God brought us here. When we consider how He moved on our behalf, we are prompted to admit that there was nothing special that we have done to enjoy this blessing, other than getting in position to trust in God's sufficiency in spite of our insufficiency. As we walk through the halls of the new sanctuary, we should take into account the feeling that each of us had the first time we entered into this house of worship. Each of us have experienced a sense of awe and felt the surge of faith that seemed to grow with each room that we walked through. The excitement of feeling that God provided this for us to do His work for this community and chose an unorthodox way to make provision. We probably realized that a few short weeks before, we were meeting in the old building to figure out how to sell it. No doubt many of those moments are still fresh in our minds and serve to remind us that the God who moves swiftly for the body of Evergreen is the same God who moves for each of us individually. We should be strengthened in the fact that this all started by acts of faith. First, we must take the time to remember those individuals that believed alongside us, namely Deacon G-Lo and Deacon Julius Pitts. That even though they did not get the chance to see the promise in the natural, they saw what could only be seen in the spirit. They were the ones that stood as a bridge between the generations that connected the old and the new, and their faith, coupled with those of us that believed, conceived that there was something greater for Evergreen and helped to push us forward. We should let the memory of their steadfastness be a shining example as to how we should stand with the future visions that will be given to this church body. They are the ones that God has used to nudge us into our purpose. Also, it would be a great injustice not to make mention of the saints that God has allowed to remain with us today. Deacon Roosevelt Bruner, Brother Jackson, and Elder Gloria Hill. Those that have chosen to stand in the midst of much adversity but simply believe in God. We should also be thankful for the many others that have had a part to play in laying the foundation for where we are today. Those persons that we are not informed enough to call by name, but they have had a name that God has given them because they labored until their time was completed. Some moved on to other places, others still God called home, yet they completed their mission. Lastly, we should be thankful for those that would be our enemies. If it not had been for them, we would not be challenged enough, broken enough, or unhinged enough to have to learn how to seek after God.
God, you've been so good to me. I just can't tell it all. I'm never gonna let you go. I'm never